Good morning and welcome to the new edition of Dr. Lamba's Awakening Call. We often find our life to be a strange mix of opposites. And the paradoxes that we face are not insurmountable. As a matter of fact, given proper policy, proper strategy, proper insight, all these paradoxes can be solved. Now, Canadians by and large are suffering from a huge crisis, and that is affordable housing crisis. Sometimes prices shoot up, making them absolutely unaffordable. And at places, the prices fall, the houses cannot be sold. And then again, this paradox results in various other issues. Where the prices are high, gridlocks, infrastructure facilities suffer. And when I saw Premier Doug Ford's latest Canadian plan for affordable housing, it was nothing more than like a request from a checklist from the real estate development industry, which focuses on cutting red tape. Nothing wrong with that, but it doesn't solve the problem. It's a band-aid solution. You might ask whether this affordable housing problem can be solved or not. It can be. As I said earlier, given proper strategy and proper policy, a wish to do something, not just empty promises and empty words, but the real wish, then things can be done. Often we blame housing affordability crisis on fleeting, easy to identify problems, like the foreign buyers flooding the market with cash, or lenders, the mortgage being given too easily. They are a part of the problem, but they are not the problem. The real issue is a long-term trend that has shifted the way houses is delivered in this country. But then, half a dozen measures, if taken, can solve this issue. Don't you mean? Just half a dozen. First is de-zone the suburbs. We seem to have a feeling that there's something sacrosanct, like zoning of the suburbs. They're the sacred cows that should not be touched. But now, people are feeling, the planners, the developers, that the parts of a city, suburbs are inflexible. Strict zoning means while urban areas can transform to serve new purposes, suburbs do not. They remain the same as they were maybe 10 years back. Today, even in the most booming cities, suburban neighborhoods are depopulating as the baby boomers who occupy these homes slowly age. And the next generation of home buyers is squeezing in tiny condos next to freeways or railway stations, transportation, infrastructure. That's the prime need. So smaller and smaller condos are being built, 600 feet, 400 feet, studio apartments, and yes, the Japanese have started pipes where you slide in, sleep, and come out. And the houses far off, they are just gawkingly empty, maybe populated by a couple of senior citizens. So the solution is to dezone the suburbs, allow some gentle densification, single army, family home areas, and the permission should be given to build townhouses and low-rise apartment buildings. If this dezoning is done, it will be easy. What's happening is that then the idyllic surrounding the suburban areas, people talk of the high quality of life. But the quality of life can be maintained even after dezoning. What would happen with the dezoning? This is the house prices would start rising. Someone who paid 1 million for a suburban bungalow would not be happy with this dezoning process. But except for this political pitfall, this can be one part of the solution. And second, which I'm going to suggest, is going to send, is going to send shivers down the spine of people. If suppose you can't dezone the suburbs, then allow more suburban sprawl. You can build more of them. The new urbanism requires that suburbs are a bad idea. They are inefficient. They are a wasteful burden on the municipal services. Imagine a city of 1,000 people having complete infrastructure of the city of the size of Toronto. Isn't that ridiculous? As I said, they are wasteful, they are inefficient, and then there's no hope of mass public transit. It's not viable, so nobody sets it up. It's isolating, people live alone. And the creation of the sort of mixed-use neighborhoods makes sustainable, flexible cities. So you have got to spread suburban sprawl, and even if it becomes an urban sprawl, there's no harm in that. Cities that allow unlimited sprawl have cheaper housing than the cities with hard limits. Now, those hard limits can be political or they can be geographical. But then, permit the sprawls, do it. And you would find that the prices will come down. As a matter of fact, if you have seen the historical progress of urbanization, you would find the cities with limits and sprawls have more housing bubbles than the cities with no sprawls, because a hard limit on development land attracts speculators. But if you permit everybody anywhere to build it, given certain parameters of infrastructure, services and others, but by and large easily, then the house price will be cheaper. Unfortunately, what happens is that politically correct attitude prohibits sprawls. It's passing. Ontario is a green belt around Greater Toronto. And the result is you are paving over Canada's most fertile farmland. Vancouver, physically limited by mountains and the cities. So as I said, either it's political reason or it's a geographical reason, but they are stopping there. Spread the sprawl. Permit it. Geography you cannot find, but political will you can. Then the third is reduce immigration levels. Whenever immigrants come, they gravitate to the cities where they know people, where there are more opportunities. Reduce the immigration level, the demand would reduce in the major cities. And that will be a contributory factor to lowering the house prices. All things being equal, immigration should not increase house prices. But then, it's a simple law of economics. More the demand, higher the cost, because the supply and demand have to balance. And if the imbalance is there, naturally the cost would be there. Now imagine Toronto is likely to experience accelerated population growth in the next 20 years. And who will be vulnerable? Not the rich people, not 1% of the people, but the low and moderate income groups would not be able to afford housing. Even now, my real estate agent was telling me yesterday only that he bought a house, a condo, for $400,000 3 years, and now it's already touching 1 million. Amazing. And then we have huge labor shortage, so we need to import labor. And not doing so would hurt our economy. But look at what happened in Quebec. Despite the fact that the economy might suffer, people voted for a government which made a promise to cut immigration levels, and they have done so. And now they might increase, but they will filter the immigration. So I'm not saying stop immigration, but streamline the immigration process. When you streamline it, you would find that the housing pressure, the pressure in the housing market would ease. Then build large-scale community housing. Part of the home ownership in Canada is the post-war was the construction of large-scale community housing projects. They were financed by the taxpayer. And significant chunk of the residents are the lower income group people. So, housing was not the free market. What you have got to do is revive that scheme. The last large-scale housing project in Canada was in 1970. And that's the reason there is a wait list of 7 years for affordable housing in Toronto. It can be more somewhere. So what you've got to do is take up on a war footing large-scale community housing, and that can be done in 2 to 3 years. So start seriously about affordable housing plans. Then bring back incentives to build rental houses. The developers, the real estate developers, permit them to build more rental houses and give them incentives. When the more rental houses are there, the supply would be more, the rents can be regulated, and the problem can be solved. Until 1980s, Canada heavily subsidized the construction of rental houses. There were tax breaks, there were other incentives. But from 80s onwards, it changed. And many experts say that this rental building of the houses was the main reason that the houses were affordable in Canada. But it's no longer there. Now, Canada has not subsidized rental housing construction after 1980s and actually put a full stop after 1990s. What we need is multi-unit developing units for rental purposes, not for owning purposes. So consider this. About today, 35% of any metro city rents, and only 6% houses are added in the rental housing. So the gap is from 6% to 35%, 29% gap. If more rental houses are there, it will be much more expensive. So you have got to cover the gaps. And then limit the amount of money being lent to the buyers. Be strict about the upper limit of the money. What we do is we lower the interest rate on mortgages, which is bad by itself. Because when the money is flush, then in a fit of enthusiasm, people will buy. And then put a cap on the buy. At present, there is no cap. And whatever cap is there has no meaning. So Canadian banks have become addicted to mortgage lending. And home loans are going less than 10% of the lending books in 1970s. 10% of banking was devoted to housing loans. Today, 40%. So when the people are flushing money, it will automatically increase the pressure in the housing market. So fixing the tough question of affordability of the housing is, as I said, not insurmountable, is not unanswerable. But we need a political will, we need a proper strategy, and these 6 methods which I've told are the steps, if they are taken by any imaginative government, can solve the issue to a great extent. Let's see if the wisdom can dawn on our political leaders and they become really the public servants, or they just delude people with false promises resulting in nothing, all sound and fury signifying nothing. Thank you.